Charlton. I'm an English major with an emphasis in secondary education. And I have to tell you, this has been a wonderful, wonderful project for me because of all of the things that I've researched. There's something that I've figured out, and that is that I could teach anything. But the love of learning and the love of teaching is where I focus and where my heart swells. So, thank you for coming today, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Of course, technology at its finest, right? So, I chose technology and pedagogy. I chose it because I had an original question that didn't make sense to me. The original question was, is texting, otherwise known as digitalk or textism, is it affecting the academic output in high schools? That is, are students actually being affected by this in a negative way? And one question led to another question, which led to another question, which brought me here. Technology and pedagogy. And I believe that the combination is a match made in heaven. My thesis is the Washington County School District works hard to keep up with the technological demand, and teachers are effective in integrating technology with pedagogy. However, both teachers and the district are thwarted by budget restrictions and professional development limitations. But what exactly is pedagogy? Pedagogy is the act, process, or art of imparting knowledge or skills. Well, that sounds simple, right? Some people think it's how we teach. It's not the how that we are teaching. It's not the what we are teaching. It's what we do to prepare to impart the knowledge that we have. Good pedagogy means that teachers ask lots of questions before they teach. But they're not asking those questions to the students, they're asking those questions of themselves. How do I give the student the necessary lesson? How do I reach each individual child? And since I'm dealing with secondary ed, I'm talking about anyone from 7th grade to 12th grade. How do I manage the classroom while I'm imparting that content knowledge? So what is content knowledge? Who here is an English major? Who here has a different major? Okay, and your major is history, is that correct? And Lyle, your history is, or I'm
Science.
sorry, your major is science. So we all have different content knowledge, different things that we know how to teach. By trade, I'm a businesswoman. Well, what I do for fun is give speeches on motivation. I impart motivational knowledge. That's what I do. I know quotes and I know things. I know things that will get you where you want to go. So that content knowledge is critical in the classroom. We have to be confident in the things that we know before we can engage our pedagogical style. So I've told you what pedagogy is, but what pedagogy isn't is sometimes more obvious. So we've all had those teachers in school who are really smart and they have lots of content knowledge, but they put us to sleep. We've had teachers who are those that are what some deem resident masters. They talk in circles, going round and round. No one ever knows exactly what they're trying to impart, but worse, we have no idea how to use anything that they're telling us in real life. How to engage what they're teaching us and connect with it so that we can use it. And of course, we can't forget the entire class that falls asleep, because that's a teacher with zero pedagogical style. So way back when, in the 1920s, when we were still using chalkboards as teaching implements, the radio was introduced into the classroom. There was one, not just the classroom, but actually the radio was introduced into schools. And probably at that point in time, most schools were not like they are now. It was a single room with lots of kids and lots of levels. But each radio was called at the time the textbooks of the air. And there was a huge expectation that they would actually take over and sort of get rid of teachers. Who needs a teacher, right? Suddenly, we had television. In the beginning, we had one television per school. And I remember, heaven forbid, in the 1960s, when we had AV monitors who used to push that one television around from classroom to classroom, and teachers had to sign out for that TV. Eventually, every classroom had a TV, and not only did they have a TV, but they had videos, I think VHS, and eventually now, or even 5 years ago, eventually DVD players. Then computers. In the 1980s, IBM introduced the first computer, and the first computer actually went into a business. It didn't go into a school. When it finally did go into the school in 1984, it was life-changing. Schools were thrilled. They generally had a room with 2 or 3 computers, a dot matrix printer, and students really had to work hard to understand and learn DOS. But it didn't take long through the 1980s and early into the 1990s before the internet got here. And when the internet arrived, life changed as we know it. So the history is important, because from 1920 to 1950 when TVs, we had 30 years. From 1950 to 1980 when computers were introduced, we had 20 years. And from 1984 until the internet was introduced, we only had 10 years. Does that tell you anything? Technology moved quickly once it finally took off in the classroom. Now we have what? We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have MySpace, we have blogging, we have RSS feeds, we have iPads, we have digital telephones or data-capable telephones, and we have iPhones as well. Everything connects us to everything in the world. So why shouldn't we be connected in the classroom? And this brings us to technology knowledge. Teachers have to be able, I cannot stress that enough, they have to be able to use technology and integrate it with content knowledge and pedagogy. And this is the perfect union. That's the place teachers need to be, they want to be, they have to be, so they can connect with kids. Kids, students. Dr. Comfort corrected me, I still call them kids. So, part of the challenge with this particular research is the fact that things are changing so quickly right now that research that's done is outdated before it's written about. By the time it's published, it's already 3 years old. And so I really was challenged to find books that gave me solid, current information. And so what ended up happening was, I ended up doing a lot of interviews. My interviews ranged from administration to technology leaders to teachers in the classroom to school administration, so from the district all the way down. And I focused primarily on Washington County because this topic it's a beast. It's like a giant beast that could just take you over, and it sort of did. So the most current research that I found was an Australian research that lasted over 7 years. And the goal was to try and see if they could use technology and replace the teacher. If they could have a classroom setting where they really didn't need a teacher there, they could put everything they needed in the technology, whatever technology that might be. And the reason I use this Australian research is because this is not just a Washington County issue. As much as I wanted to focus it on Washington County, it's not a Utah issue. It's not a national issue. It's an international educational problem. So, back to this research. Done in Australia. They did it over a 7-year period of time. They used 13 teachers and hundreds of students over this 7-year period of time. They came in with technology, with software, with a program that was already done for the teacher. And they sat the kids down in front of this program, and time after time after time, they monitored the entire process to see how students reacted. They did well, they engaged, they learned, their assessments were great until the end. And when those questions came up, they couldn't look at that beautiful whiteboard, even though they could walk up, touch it, and make things change. They couldn't figure those things out on their own. They still had to have the teacher explain it. So as the study went, and as they shifted this study to make sure that they understood what the outcome was going to be, they realized this. The overwhelming conclusion of the study was that interplay between the teacher's curriculum goals and the technology were absolutely necessary. And more than anything else, the findings were clear. Technology does not transform pedagogy. It can't replace it. It can only enhance it. So why do we use technology in the classroom? Why do you think I think we need to use technology in the classroom? Well, first, we obviously know that students learn visually, they learn by sound, audio, and kinesthetically. They need hands-on. In a biology classroom, the teacher can stand up and impart knowledge. He can tell them anything they want, and they're hearing it. He might have a PowerPoint, and they're seeing it. And everybody learns differently, but sometimes they have to have hands-on, and that's why they do labs in college. In high school, it's the same. We want to engage students so that they're interacting with one another, having socio-cultural learning, and so that they can use the visualization, the things that they're seeing, and connect with it. And then we want them to apply. It's all about application. Joel, if you're teaching me something in history, and I get it in my head, but I don't connect it with the feelings that I have, am I going to retain that information?
Not at all.
Not at all. And that's why I think technology has to be connected with pedagogy and content. It's a beautiful blend. So locally, there are lots of teachers, but I'll give you a couple of examples of some of the things that are being done. So Pineview High School has an amazing, amazing award-winning choir. And their teacher, Rob Reimer, used to be a teacher here at the college. In fact, crazy enough, he used to be my stats teacher here at the college. Find that connection. Anyway, he was an amazing teacher here, and I learned a ton in his class. I'm terrible at math, and I made it through statistics with an A. So he takes his choir class, and he breaks them up into groups, and then he tapes them as groups, and he tapes them as individuals. After recording those individuals, he sends the information home via internet. The student can practice it the right way with the correct music, and then they're able to pull it all together within the classroom setting, and that's why he says they have so many awards and they do such a great job. Imagine a teacher teaching life sciences, and you may not see or understand what that picture is right there, but when I explain it, you will. Pretend that I'm a teacher teaching life sciences, and we are talking about the rim of fire, or the ring of fire. Does anyone know what that is? It's the ring around the Pacific Ocean where the tectonic plates are moving. And we just had an extreme example of these tectonic plates moving. Does anyone know?
Japan.
In Japan, exactly. That is a photo of a YouTube video. That is a 30-foot wave headed towards Japan. Live. I can teach my students exactly what's happening. I can explain how the tectonic plates are moving. And then, unfortunately, we have to talk about the devastation that took place afterwards. But we have just a little problem. We have veteran teachers and we have rookie teachers. And those rookie teachers have a lot more technological knowledge than the veteran teachers. Now, you might ask me, why did I choose that picture? Well, I have to tell you, the interviews that I didn't just interview the rookie teachers. I had teachers that had been teaching 20 years, 25 years, 12 years, 15 years, you name it, I had it. And you know what? That problem, that face right there, I got more times than I want to count. And I'll tell you why I got that face. They looked at me and said, "It's been working for 22 years. What do I need technology in the classroom for?" And I said, that's interesting. One of the books I read said that teachers adopt a technophobic attitude, veteran teachers. If it's working for me, why do I have to change it? And they get an attitude. And I was so surprised because I thought that a teacher would want to make their job easier. In my head, if I've got to do this huge job, I want to make the job as easy as possible. Younger teachers may not have all the knowledge, but they're willing. So, what's the problem then? Is there a problem with technology, content, and pedagogy? Yeah, there is. Professional development budgets have been slashed inside and outside of Washington County. And that seriously, seriously affects the ability for teachers to integrate technology into their pedagogy. I started asking teachers after I figured out that there might be an issue, how much technology training, or what's called professional development in the technology areas, how much training were they actually getting? In districts outside of Washington County, the stories were absolutely disheartening. One teacher told me, a 12-year veteran, she's had 4 hours in the classroom between 2010 and 2011 school year, so this year, on technology in the classroom. Another one said, when referring to technology in her classroom, she'd had to learn everything on her own. No help from her district whatsoever. A returning teacher, who'd been away for several years caring for her ill husband, came back and said, I went onto the UEN website to figure it all out. And UEN is the Utah Educator Network. And finally, a teacher in Las Vegas, in fact, I spoke with her yesterday. This information just kept coming at me. She told me yesterday, the only professional development training I receive in technology is how to track my kids' grades on the school system. That's it. Other than that, I'm on my own. And as a side note, this woman wants to teach using technology so badly, she just enrolled in a master's program specifically designed for technology and integration with technology in the classroom. And then just as another side note on that same topic, I asked her, how do you think what do you think your return on investment will be? You'll get this information, you'll have your master's degree, but will you see that back financially? And she said, no, the only way I'll see that back financially is because my students will do better in school. So then the question bears down, how does Washington County School District fare in all of this? And I'll explain who Charlie is in just a minute. But first I want to tell you what Charlie does. Charlie gets his hands dirty, spending countless hours reading manuals on his own and figuring it out by himself. He works with each cohort of teachers through their technology endorsement. Now, teachers get an endorsement in content, so they can get an endorsement specifically in technology use within the classroom. There's really two types of technology endorsements. The first one is how to teach technology to kids, how to write programs, how to fix stuff, that kind of thing. The other type of technology endorsement is what I'm referring to here, so just so that you know that there's two. He personally teaches summer school classes for teachers so that they can learn how to integrate technology into the classroom. And he strongly encourages teachers to submit grant applications for the creative technology projects they are doing in their classrooms. And if they are not awarded, he goes out of his way to find the grants and hold their hands while they apply for the grants so that they have success and don't get frustrated and give up. So who is Charlie? Charlie Roberts is the Washington County School District Technology and Media Director. And I was really sort of embarrassed because I thought to myself, you know what? I'm giving this speech on technology and pedagogy, but the bottom line is in Washington County, this man does it all. He's like the angel. He's the 2010 recipient of Utah's Technology Leader of the Year. But here's the sad part. His budget isn't big enough to pay for him to make regular visits into the classroom. So the teachers have to come to him specifically with an idea, and then he researches it, figures it out, and helps them get the grants so they can use it in their classroom. So Washington County does make every possible effort within their budget restrictions. But there are a lot of critics who have concerns about technology in the classroom, and we can't talk about technology in the classroom and integrating it with pedagogy unless we talk about these other issues. What is appropriate technology beyond the obvious like porn and social networking in school? What is appropriate? So I spoke with some of the teachers about this issue. And one of the things that stood out for me the most was when technology becomes a bell or a whistle and teachers stop connecting with kids, or when teachers tell the students, I don't have time for that, look it up on the internet, or when they say, figure it out yourself. There's a problem. Because then they're using technology to do their job. They're not using technology to learn content. Does technology make our kids less critical thinkers? Are they too shallow? Do they stop thinking things all the way through because they can just Google it? The answer to that is, it was actually 50-50. I got some teachers that said, yeah, kids just don't think deeply anymore. And other teachers who said, if I use technology to make them think, to show them, to force them to find answers to really hard questions, which then make them ask more questions, then technology works. But if I don't use it in that respect, then technology sort of does make our kids less critical thinkers or more shallow thinkers. Is technology a distraction? How many of you have a cell phone here today? And how many of those phones are on vibrate? Okay, so interesting story that I came across as I was doing my research. A really great teacher who teaches history, and actually I heard this story about a teacher up in Jordan, and then I found a similar teacher down here teaching the same topic, same grade. Her kids would not put away their phones, sitting on the counter, sitting on their desks all the time, phones buzzing throughout her lesson. She could not get her kids to put away their phones. So finally, she decided to, if you can't beat them, engage them. So what she did was she started a blog. She found some software that connected these phones of theirs to her blog. She would ask a question the night before, and the students could text in the answer. But here was the great part. The students could text in the answer. They could engage with her in dialogue, sort of like I am. You know what I am is, right? I don't remember. Somebody help me. Instant messaging, thank you. Sort of like instant messaging. But the best part was that everybody's answers were anonymous. So even the shy kids got to connect. And last, does technology dehumanize the relationships between teachers and students? And you have to admit, sometimes we forget that there's another human being on the other side of that screen writing back. The best part about Skype is that you can see the person that's on the other side. So teachers have to help students know who's on the other side of all of that. So being that I've done a million motivational speeches, okay, that's an over-exaggeration. Michael Jordan once said, some people wish it would happen. Some people want it to happen. Some people make it happen. And I believe that teachers who integrate technology into their pedagogy truly are a match made in heaven. So if you'll watch this last video that I have for you, I hope we've made a connection.
Adapting and evolving, teachers digitally empower diverse learners to connect, communicate, collaborate, and create in an interactive technology-rich environment.